Hi children, how are you all? Hope all are doing good and praying to be good. Welcome to another session. So in the previous session we discussed about heredity, how the traits are transferred from the parents to the offsprings, and what is the importance of DNA, and how the variations are formed, from variations to the speciation, from the speciation to the evolution, how the new varieties of forms are forming, like Mendelian theories and Darwinism, Lamarckism, Neo-Lamarckism. These are all the concepts we discussed in the previous. Now let us see about our new chapter, that is, as we are living beings, as we are living in a particular place, so we have an interaction between the living things, non-living things. Always we used to depend all other things which are around us. So we used to have an interaction, no? So if there is no interaction, if we don't have any support from another organisms, for example, if you are not depending for food on the plants, can we get the food without the plants? Can we get the food without the animals, plants and animals? Or can we live without air, without water, without proper sunlight? We cannot live. That means in order to have a better life, always we have an interaction, no? So that is nothing but the surroundings. The chapter we are discussing about our surroundings, that is our environment. Why we have to learn about our environment? Because as we are human beings, we only have the minimum common sense that what is right and what is wrong. And as we are human beings, only we are the people who majorly causing destruction to the environment, which means we have utmost responsibility to protect our environment. How we have to protect our environment? How we have to save our environment? If we save our environment, only we can survive in a better manner. So recently we see in our Eluru, no? So water pollution due to heavy nickel and lead mixing in a water, which causes damage for the nervous system. That means we are causing a lot of pollution to the environment. So according to ourselves, we have the responsibility to concern towards our environment, to have at least minimum responsible towards the environment, to protect the environment. So this is the concept today we are going to learn in the chapter our environment lesson. So ecosystem. In the environment, ecosystem is nothing but it is a particular area which is consisting different types of biotic components and abiotic components. Bio means life, abio means absence of life, living organisms and non-living things. There is an interaction always between living things and non-living things. That is, we call it as a ecosystem. So you can see here the definition. An ecosystem is a functional unit of nature where living organisms interact each other and also with the physical environment. Always we used to have the interaction. If you see the types of ecosystem, different types of ecosystems, terrestrial ecosystem, examples, forest, grasslands, deserts, etc. Aquatic ecosystem, ponds, lakes, waterlands, rivers, estuaries, these all are comes under the aquatic ecosystem. Man-made ecosystem, we can call it as artificial ecosystem, man-made ecosystem. The terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems, we can say that there are natural ecosystems. Man-made means it is an artificial ecosystem, that is crop fields, aquarium, growing fishes in the waterlands, in the water lakes. That all comes under the man-made ecosystem. So let us see structure and functions of an ecosystem. Entire biosphere is regarded as global ecosystem. So in an ecosystem, biotic and abiotic components interact and function as a unit. There is always an interaction between living things and non-living things. Vertical distribution of different species occupying different levels is called as stratification. Vertical distribution of different species occupying in different levels is called stratification. In a forest, trees occupy the top strata layer, shrubs and second, herbs and grass the bottom level. So if you take that in a level strata, vertical distribution take or a stratification, the main level is taken by the forest. Trees, they will occupies the top area. Shrubs second area, herbs and grasslands at the bottom area. Now let us see aquatic ecosystem, pond ecosystem. A pond is a shallow, simple, self-unsustainable water body that exhibits all basic components of an ecosystem. It consists of all basic. Abiotic components are water and soil depositions. Climatic conditions, solar input, cycle of temperature, day length, etc. Autotrophic components, phytoplanktons, some algae and floating, submerged and marine plants. Next, consumers, heterotrophs, zooplanktons, free swimming and bottom dwelling forms, decomposers, fungi, bacteria and flagellates. These all are decomposers. So, pond ecosystem is an example for aquatic ecosystem. Pond perform all the functions of an ecosystem. What are those functions? Autotrophs convert inorganic substances into organic materials using solar radiant energy. So heterotrophs consumes autotrophs, decomposition and mineralization of a dead matter release them back to reuse by the autotrophs. They will be reused by the autotrophs. 4 basic components of an ecosystem. What are the 4 basic components of aquatic ecosystem? So, what is a productivity? Solar energy is the basic requirement for an ecosystem to function and sustain. So, if there is no solar energy, we cannot live, no? So, solar energy is a basic requirement for an ecosystem. If the ecosystem works well also, the solar radiation is very most important. Amount of biomass, organic matter produced per unit area over a time period by plants during photosynthesis is called as primary production. So, it is expressed in a weight or a energy. This production, the primary production is expressed in the form of weight or energy, calories, grams or calories. The rate of biomass production is called productivity. The rate of biomass production, how much biomass is produced, it is called as its a production. It is expressed in G minus 2, YR minus 1 or calories minus power 2, M power minus 2. So, it is divided into gross primary productivity, that we call as GPP, gross primary productivity. Net primary productivity means NPP, net product means. Gross primary productivity means it is the rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis. A considerable amount of GPP is used by plants for respiration. Okay, so it is a rate of production of organic matter during the process of photosynthesis. a considerable amount of GPP is used by plants for respiration. Net primary productivity means it is the available biomass for the consumption to heterotrophs, herbivores and decomposers. NPP is gross primary productivity minus respiration loss. Gross primary productivity minus respiration loss is nothing but we call it as a net primary productivity. Secondary productivity means it is the rate of formation of new organic matter by consumers. Primary productivity varies in a different ecosystems because it depends on the plant species inhabiting in a particular area, environmental factors, availability of nutrients, photosynthetic capacity of plants. Basing all this, the primary productivity varies basing on the different ecosystems depending on their environment. So annual net primary productivity of a whole biosphere is about 170 billion tons dry weight. It is of organic matter. So of these, despite occupying 70% of the surface, the productivity of the oceans is only 55 billion tons. Now let us see what are decomposers or what is meant by decomposition. Decomposition. What is meant by decomposition? So it is a breakdown of complex organic matter by decomposers into inorganic substances like carbon dioxide, water and nutrients. So the complex substances, organic substances will be break down into simple substances as like inorganic substances like carbon dioxide, water and nutrients. So it is largely an oxygen requiring process. It needed a large content of oxygen requiring process. Raw materials for decomposition is called as detritus. So the raw materials for decomposition is called as detritus. Example, dead plants remains, leaves, bark, flowers, etc. Dead remains of animals, fecal matter. These all are examples. Now let us see the steps involved in the process of decomposition. First one is fragmentation, next leaching, next catabolism, next humidification, next one is mineralization. So in these steps the decomposition will complete. Fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, humidification and mineralization. What is fragmentation? Breakdown of detritus into smaller particles by detrivores. The detritus will be break down into small particles by the help of detrivores. Example of detrivore is a earthworm. They will break down. So next one is leaching. What is meant by leaching? Water soluble inorganic nutrients go down into soil horizon and precipitate unavailable salts. They will become into a precipitate unavailable salts, that we call it as a leaching. Next one is catabolism. Degradation of detritus into simpler inorganic substances by bacteria, fungal enzymes. How they will become? Degradation of detritus into simpler inorganic substances, bacterial and fungal enzymes by the help of. So fragmentation, leaching, catabolism occur simultaneously, one by one. In orderly, one by one it will be takes place. Fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, they will occur simultaneously. The next one is humidification. What is the humidification? Accumulation of humus, dark amorphous substances in soil amorphous substances in soil. Humus is resistant to microbial action and so decomposes very slowly, being colloidal in nature. So it serves as a reservoir of nutrients. So humification means accumulation of a humus, formation of a humus in a soil. Humus is resistant to microbial action and decomposition very slowly. So being colloidal in nature, it serves as a reservoir of the nutrients. Next last step is mineralization. It is the release of inorganic nutrients due to the degradation of humus by some microbes. Mineralization means it is release of inorganic nutrients due to degradation of humus by some microbes. So now let us see. It is a diagrammatic representation of decomposition cycle in a terrestrial ecosystem. You can see it is a cyclic process how the decomposition is taking place. So the tree grown in the soil. So green leaves fell to the ground. Some are eaten by the insects and other animals. Nutrients and energy enter into the food web. So from there some nutrients leaches into the soil by the chemical actions. So then they will converts into organic substances. Further decomposition by earthworms in the soil or a fungus, bacteria or fungus it will be. So again they will be converted in the form of a nutrients for the crops or the plants. So the decomposed nutrients gained by the plants as their nutrients. So factors influencing the decomposition. Chemical composition of detritus. Decomposition is slow in detritus, rich in lignin and chitin. So it is quicker if detritus is rich in nitrogen and water soluble substances like sugars. So climatic factors are temperature and soil moisture. Warm and moist environment favors decomposition. So low temperature and anaerobiosis inhibits decomposition, resulting in building up of organic materials. So the low temperature and anaerobiosis reduces the decomposition, which results in the building up of the organic materials. Now, how the main source of energy is solar energy. How the energy flow from one organism or from one level to another level. Let us see. Sun is the only sources of energy for all the ecosystems except deep seas, hydrothermal ecosystems except. So of the incident solar radiation, less than 50% is photosynthetically active radiation. Photosynthetically active radiation means PAR. Plants and photosynthetic and chemosynthetic bacteria, autotrophs, fix the solar radiation energy to make food. So plants capture only 2 to 10% of the PAR, photosynthetically active radiation. So this energy sustains the entire living world. So ecosystem obeys second law of thermodynamics. So they need a constant supply of energy to synthesize the molecules. It helps to counteract the entropy. Autotrophs, producers. The producers are organisms that they synthesize the food. So, in a terrestrial ecosystem, major producers are herbaceous and woody plants. Primary producers is in an aquatic ecosystem are phytoplankton, planktons, algae and higher plants. The energy trapped by the producers is passed on to an consumer or to the organisms die. So, what are consumers? These are the animals that directly or indirectly depends on the plants for the food. They include primary consumers, secondary consumers and tertiary consumers. Primary consumers, herbivores, feed on the plants. Example, insects, birds, mammals, mollusks, etc. And secondary consumers, primary carnivores, feed on herbivores. Example, frogs, man, etc. And tertiary consumers, secondary carnivores, that are feed on primary carnivores. Example, tiger, lion. So, the chain of feeding relationship between different organisms, we call it as a food chain. So, food chain is of two types, grazing food chain and a detritus food chain. So, you can see the interlink between the plants and animals for the purpose of food, we call it as a food chain, or the chain of a feeding relationship between different organisms is called as food chain. Now, grazing food chain. Here, primary consumers feeds on living plants producers. See, grass is a producer, goat is a primary consumer and man is a secondary consumer. Detritus food chain, DFC. Here, primary consumers feeds on the dead organic matters, detritus. So, death of organism is a beginning of a DFC. Okay, death of organism is a beginning for the detritus food chain. You can see there, grazing food chain and a detritus food chain you can see. So, the ultimate one is a sun is a main source for the procuring the energy. Now, you can see detritus is made up of decomposers, saprotrophs such as fungi, bacteria. So, they secrete digestive enzymes that break down detritus into simple inorganic materials which are absorbed by them. So, thus they get energy and nutrients. Now, in an aquatic ecosystem, GFC is the major conduit for energy flow. So, in an terrestrial ecosystem, a much amount of energy flow through DFC than through GFC. So, the DFC may be connected with the GFC. At some levels, some organisms of DFC, detritus food chain, are prey to the grass food chain. So, animals like cockroaches, crows, human, etc. are omnivores. Such interaction of a food chain are called as a food web. The interaction between many food chains is nothing but we can call them as a food web. Now, a specific place of organisms in the food chain known as a trophic level. The level which contain much content of nutrients, we call it as a food chain. So, tertiary consumers, you can see the bottom level occupies by the primary producers. Primary producers are eaten by the primary consumers. The primary consumers are eaten by the secondary consumers. The secondary consumers are eaten by the tertiary consumers. So, fourth trophic level are called top carnivores. Example, man, lion, etc. Third trophic level, carnivores, birds, fishes, wolf, etc. And second trophic level herbivores, zooplankton, grasshoppers, cow, etc. The first trophic level is plants, photoplanktons and grass, trees, etc. So, the first level is occupied by the plants, they are the primary producers. So, energy flow through the different trophic levels. So, ultimate source is a sunlight or the solar energy. It releases a heat energy. The sunlight is absorbed by the plants in the first trophic level produced by the plants, and it is released. Next, second trophic level, primary consumers, they are the herbivores. Third trophic level, secondary consumers are the carnivores. Fourth trophic level entry, tertiary consumers or top carnivores. In all the ways, in every level, the heat energy will be liberated. The heat energy will be liberated. So, the amount of energy decreases at a successive trophic levels. When an organism dies, it becomes dead biomass, detritus. It is an energy source for the decomposition. So, organisms at each trophic level depend on those at other lower trophic level of the energy. So, the amount of living materials in a trophic level at a given time, we call it as a standing crop. So, it is measured by biomass. So, mass of a living organisms, weight. So, it is measured as biomass or a number in a unit area. So, biomass species is measured in terms of fresh or dry weight. So, the dry weight is more accurate because it is the exact mass of which remains constant. Number of trophic levels in GFC is restricted at its flow. 10% law. Only 10% of energy will be transferred from one trophic level to another trophic level in the food chain. Now let us see ecological pyramids. Up to now, how the energy flow, how the solar energy taken up by the plants, and they make use of the solar energy. Now let us see ecological pyramids. What are ecological pyramids? The representation of food chain in the form of pyramid, we call it as a ecological pyramid. Okay. So the base of pyramid represents producers first trophic level. The apex represents the tertiary or top level consumers, and ecological pyramids are three types. Pyramid of number, pyramid of biomass, and pyramid of energy. Now you can see here grassland ecosystem pyramid. You can see primary producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. So here you can see how many number of individuals in the each trophic level. So the pyramid of number make us to know that the count of organisms are present in each trophic level. So every trophic level, if you see the count, you see 5 crores 8,4. You can see the count of an organisms in each trophic level. 58,42,000. 7,08,000. Next 3,54,000 organisms in each trophic level. Each and every level, the number of organisms are reducing from the bottom to top. So now here you can see pyramid of biomass. So it shows the sharp decrease in biomass at high trophic levels. When the levels are increasing, the content of biomass will be decreased. So inverted pyramid of biomass. Small standing crop of phytoplankton supports the large standing crops of phytoplanktons. So you can see the inverted pyramid only in the aquatic ecosystem. In aquatic ecosystem, the count of producers are very less in the water bodies. So the count of producers will be less in the aquatic ecosystem. So, any calculation of energy content biomass has including all organisms in a trophic level. So, in most ecosystems, all the pyramids are upright. Producers are more in number and biomass, and the herbivores are more in number. So biomass than the carnivores are also energy at lower trophic levels is always more than at a higher level. So now coming to the ecological pyramids. The next pyramid is pyramid of energy. So primary producers convert only 1% of energy in sunlight and available them into NPP. So the producers accept from the sunlight only 1% of energy in the process of photosynthesis. So from one trophic level to another trophic level, only 10% of energy will be transferred. The remaining 90% of energy is made use of biological processes, metabolic activities and released into the environment in the heat form. So you can see the primary consumers consist of 10,000 joules of energy. 10% of energy will be transferred to the primary consumers. That means at the area of primary consumers we can find only 1000 joules. So from primary consumers to the secondary consumers, 10% energy will travel, which means 100 joules of energy is present. Like that wise, from the bottom to the top, when the energy is traveling according to the 10%, the content of energy will be reduced when it reaches to the top level. That's why the pyramid of energy or the food chain is consisting of only few levels, 4 to 5 levels. It doesn't extend more than 4 to 5 levels because the availability of energy will be reduced when it reaches to the top levels. So it may be at one point they may not be available of energy. So organisms does not get the food content or energy, they cannot survive. That's what the food pyramid or the food chain is consisting only 4 to 5 levels. Now, so any calculations of energy content, biomass or a number has to include all organisms at the trophic level. So, a trophic level represents a functional level, not a species such as a given species may occupy more than one trophic level. So, in the same ecosystem at the same time. So, a sparrow is primary consumer when it eats seeds, fruits, peas and secondary consumer when it eats the insects and the worms. That means some organisms they can consider in a more than one trophic level, as the example is given here, a sparrow. So a sparrow is a primary consumer when it eats seeds, fruits and peas, it considered as a primary consumer. But when it eats the insects, it will be considered as the secondary consumer. In most ecosystems, all the pyramids are upright. Producers are more in number and biomass than the herbivores, and herbivores are more in number and biomass than the carnivores. So also energy at a low trophic level always more than at a high level. So always the energy will be high level. So insects feeding on big trees, pyramid of biomass in a sea is inverted because biomass of a fish far excited than the phytoplankton. So as previously we discussed, in aquatic ecosystem the pyramid is inverted in condition. Pyramid of energy is always upright because when energy flow from one trophic level to another next trophic levels, some energy is always at the heat at the each step. So it does not take into an account that same species belongs to two or more trophic levels. Limitations. So it assumes a simple food chain that almost never exists in nature. So it does not accommodate into food web. Saprophytes are not included in the ecological pyramids, even though they play a vital role in the ecosystem. Saprophytes are nothing but decomposers. Why they are not insisted in the pyramids in the levels? Because We can see their interaction in all the levels. They can eat producers, consumers, primary, secondary, tertiary. Even the top carnivorous also decomposed by the decomposer. So they doesn't get a particular level in the ecological pyramids. Primary succession or a rock, xerophytic habitat. Here lichens are pioneer species. So they secrete acids to dissolve the rocks, helping in weathering of the soil formation. So climax community forest remains stable if the environment remain unchanged. So lichens are nothing but combined growth of algae and fungi. Algae gives the nutrition for the fungi. Fungi provide the shelter. Mutual understanding, symbiotic relationship we used to call. So these lichens, small plants like bryophytes, they need only a small amount of the soil. So by bigger plants and the forest and the mesophytic. With time, the water body is converted into a land. Climax community is a forest. Phytoplanktons are pioneers in the primary succession in the water. Rooted submerged plants. Next level, rooted floating angiosperms. The next level, free floating plants. The next level, reed swamps. Next, marsh meadows and scrubs and the trees in the forest. Now, how the nutrients are supplying in a environmental condition. Nutrient cycle. Amount of nutrients, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, etc. present in the soil is given times is called as standing state. So it varies in different kinds of ecosystem and also on a seasonal basis. So nutrients are never lost from ecosystem. They are recycled again and again. So the movement of nutrients elements through the various components of an ecosystem, we call it as a nutrient cycle. The movement of nutrients elements through various components of an ecosystem is called as nutrient cycle. So that only we call it as a biogeochemical cycles. So types of nutrient cycle, gaseous cycles and sedimentary cycles. Gaseous cycles. The reservoir is atmosphere, nitrogen and carbon. The reservoir in earth crust, that are sulfur, phosphorus cycles. So environmental factors, soil, moisture, pH, temperature, etc. are the environmental factors that regulates the rate of release of nutrients into the atmosphere. So the reservoirs meets with the deficit of nutrients due to the imbalance in the rate of influx and efflux. Next, reservoir of carbon. Atmosphere about 1%, organisms 49% of dry weight, oceans 71% dissolved carbon. It regulates the amount of atmospheric carbon, carbon dioxide, fossil fuels. So carbon cycle occurs through the atmosphere, ocean and through living dead organisms. So 4 into 10 power 13 kg of carbon is fixed in the biosphere through photosynthesis annually for year. A major amount of carbon returns to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide through the respiration. So processing of water and dead organic matter by the decomposers also release the carbon dioxide. So some amount of fixed carbon is lost to sedimentation and removed from the circulation. So burning of wood, forest fires, combustion of organic matter, fossil fuels, volcanic activities are the sources of releasing the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So role of human activities in carbon cycle, deforestation, burning of fossil fuels, etc. has increased the rate of release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So phosphorus is a constant of biological membranes, nucleic acid and cellular energy transfer system. So many animals use phosphorus to make shells, bones and teeth. You can see in the seashells, no? Seashore shells. Phosphorus cycle. The natural reservation of phosphorus is a rock in the form of phosphate. When rocks are weathered, minute amount of phosphates dissolves in the soil solution and are absorbed by the plants. Herbivores and other animals obtain this from the plants. So the waste products in the dead organisms are decomposed. So phosphate solubilities, bacteria releasing into the phosphorus. You can see here phosphorus cycle. This is the phosphorus cycle. Carbon cycle and phosphorus cycle. Differences. Atmosphere input in a higher content. Phosphorus is a much smaller. It is very less content. There is a gaseous exchange between organisms and the environment. Gaseous exchange is very negligible. Ecosystem serves, protect us. The products of ecosystem process are called as ecosystem serves. So the products of ecosystem processes are called as ecosystem services. Ecosystem services of a healthy forest. Purify the air and water. Mitigation droughts and floods. Mitigation means reducing the droughts and floods. Cycle nutrients. Generate fertile soil. Provide wildlife habitat. Maintain biodiversity. Pollinate the crop. Provide storage site for the carbon and provide aesthetic, cultural, spiritual values. Aesthetic, cultural, spiritual values. So Robert Costanza and his colleagues have tried to put price tags on the nature's life support service. Biological magnification. Harmful chemicals like insecticides and pesticides which are used to protect the crops from the insects and are absorbed by the plants and enter the food chain, since the chemicals are known as biological magnification. See, when the chemicals are added to the crop plants, these chemicals are non-biodegradable. The plants are eaten by the animals, so the pollutants are traveling from the plants to the goat. If you take a food chain, grass, goat, man. So the pollutant is traveling from the goat to the man. This goat is eaten by the man. It travels from the goat to the man. So if the pollutants are accumulating in the food chain from one level to another level, that process we call it as a biological magnification. So biodegradable, they get the accumulated every trophic level and their concentration increases. So since the human beings occupy the highest trophic level, the concentration of these harmful chemicals is a maximum in our bodies. So from the when we see the energy, flow of energy, according to the 10% law, the energy travels from the bottom to the top. So much energy can be found in the bottom levels, that are producers level. But coming to the harmful substances, the biodegradable waste increases, or the toxic levels will increases from the bottom to the top levels in the trophic levels. So here we can see the concentration of pollution will increase in the food chains. That is a biomagnification will increase from the bottom to the top, where the energy will decrease from the bottom to the top level. So the increase in the concentration of harmful chemicals in the bodies and organisms in higher levels, we call it as a biological magnification. So here you can see that biological magnification through the food chain. So when we eat the food chain or food from the plants, when the plants are sprayed by the pesticides, insecticides or the fertilizers, they become non-biodegradable. They remains the same. That food will be eaten by us. The pollutants are traveling in the food chain from one level to the another level, which means it increases the level toxic concentration from one level to another level. Next one is ozone depletion. Depletion of ozone layer in the atmosphere. Ozone molecule contains 3 oxygen atoms at the higher levels in the atmosphere. So the UV radiations will be splits some oxygen molecules into O2 and free oxygen atoms, so which combines. So the ozone is formed by O3 molecule. So the heavy temperature depletes the oxygen radiation, that means ultraviolet radiation splits the oxygen O2 and O, that means deviation of a O3 molecule, the separation of the O2 molecule and reducing the content of a ozone, that we call it as a ozone depletion. You can see here O2 gives rise O plus, that is a O2 UV radiation. O2 plus O forms the O3. Ozone will be forms in the form of a O3. So the ozone layer present in the higher layer of the atmosphere protects the earth. The harmful radiation from the sun radiations causes the skin cancer in the humans. So when the ozone layer is completely depleted, ultraviolet radiation will fall on our body. When this UV radiation falls on our skin, we mostly will attack with the skin cancer, such type of diseases. So the ozone layer is being damaged by the cause of chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons. How these chlorofluorocarbons are releasing into the environment. As the global warming is increasing, the temperature is increasing. To make ourselves to be cool, what we are doing, we are using more number of electronic gadgets like ACs, coolers, refrigerators. From these instruments or these gadgets, lot of chlorofluorocarbons are releasing out. These chlorofluorocarbons are non-dissolvable components in the environment. They remain in the same manner and they are causing the ozone depletion. You can see here the structure of ozone layer. Earth 0 to 10 kilometers stratosphere and 0 to 50 kilometers troposphere and stratosphere. So in between troposphere and stratosphere we can find the presence of ozone layer. You can see ozone hole, how the ozone hole is causing there. At the region of New Zealand, South America, Africa. Managing the garbage we produce. The household waste is called garbage. Some of the garbage is biodegradable and some are non-biodegradable garbage. So, biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable waste. Of air and water, soil, so it should be disposed by the properly. Biodegradable waste, non-biodegradable waste has to be separated. If non-biodegradable waste is thrown in the water bodies or dipped into the soil, what happens? Automatically the soil and the water becomes as a polluted. They has to be prevented. So some of the methods to garbage disposal, landfill, recycling, production of biogas, manure, natural manures, preparation of compost, incineration, sewage treatment. These all are some of the methods which helps to reduce the content of non-biodegradable waste or reducing the waste. And also sewage treatment is very most important one. The water has to be treated. The water which is released from the industries, it should not directly released into the water bodies, fresh water bodies, because lot of chemical substances will be present in that. They causes poisonous to the water, polluted the water. They cause many different kinds of the diseases. So these all are the at least minimum concern we should have towards the environment to protect our environment. So in our environment we have to minimum respect, minimum responsibility to protect the environment. Hope you understood our environment concept, children. See you soon in the next session.